Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 85 of Big Brother All-Stars, the final night. This is Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. We've done it. We've wrapped up the season. We got a Big Brother season during the time of COVID. That was fantastic. That was amazing. But we're all done now. The winners have been declared. Everyone has walked out the house. I'm the last person in the diary room, I guess. So obviously we don't have overnight feeds to talk about tonight because no one's left. But I did want to just go over the season a little bit, give some of my opinions about the finale episode itself and just the season in general. So let's start with that and just give you a few thoughts before we kick this season on out the door and move on to something else. First, let's talk about the finale itself. We started off looking at the second part of the HOH competition. Remember, Nicole's already won the first part, so this is between Cody and Enzo. I like this competition. It's different than anything we've really seen before, having to take the pictures, swinging pigs, answering the questions, running across the balance beams. I think it was a good combination of physical and memory and some dexterity as well. So it was a good mix of everything, which I like seeing. The only thing I kind of was a little frustrated about or wish was a little different, they only had 3 questions to answer. Given the importance of significance of this particular competition, I was really expecting a few more questions, but it was only 3. And Enzo had a little problem with one of them, which made it difficult, but it was fun. The pigs flying everywhere. I would have fit right in. I would have felt at home with all the hogs swinging back and forth. But it was a fun competition to watch. And now we know why there's so much construction going on in the backyard and everything. On a side note, I wish they'd had some of these balance beam competitions during my season last year. Now, you don't look at old Boss Hogg's body and figure that I'd be any kind of a champion when it comes to balance beams. And it's not like I'm a gymnast or anything, but I actually think I would have surprised people. It would have been fun running back and forth because I would have hightailed it. It would have been fun to do some events using balance beams, but that's all right. Looking at past seasons and all that. But as far as the actual results, let's talk about that. Cody did the competition in 4 minutes. Enzo did the competition in 37 minutes. That is complete domination from Cody. He just took over this competition. I don't know which strikes me more, that Cody was able to do it in only 4 minutes or that it took Enzo 37. Those are extremes on both sides. And it crushed Enzo. He was expecting that it was going to be even closer than that. Knowing he did badly, he didn't think Cody would do anywhere close to how Cody did, and it killed him. I don't know if it was embarrassment from Enzo on how bad his time was, or just realization that he now no longer controlled his fate, that truly he was going to have to depend on Cody or Nicole to drag him to the final 2. But Enzo was upset. He was depressed, just feeling horrible, and I get every bit of that. It's been a long season. The stress is built up. You have an event like this. Next thing you know, you're throwing your hands up in the air and say, I don't even care anymore. But Enzo gave it everything. I know he gave it 100% on this stuff when he knew he needed to win. So it's unfortunate. I hated watching Enzo feeling so bad, but that's part of the game as well. So with that competition taken care of, now we have Cody and Nicole going head to head in the final part of the HOH battle for all the marbles. The winner is guaranteed final 2. The loser is now dependent upon the winner of this competition to maybe not drag you along to the final 2 itself. And I got to say, those were hard questions. I was playing along. I missed 2 or 3 of them. They were hard. Now, we have the outside world to deal with. When you're inside that house and you have nothing to do for this last week or 2 but study, every day, every event, who got every HOH, POV, everything. So they were obviously prepared, but even that prepared, I was quite impressed that Cody got a perfect score. Nicole, she only missed 1, but it was the very first question. From that point on, she was dead man walking, that she wasn't going to be able to win because Cody got every single one right. Cody has dominated this season. It wasn't just the physical challenges, but it was the memory. It was the mental challenges that Cody did well on, and the dexterity challenges. Cody won a lot of different challenges, so props to that guy for doing a phenomenal job on the competition front this season. I thought it was interesting. One thing, I was trying to figure out when I watched this. Now I've watched it back a couple of times. I think they may have had this competition up in the former Have Not room because they were doing a bunch of other stuff in the backyard. But this looks like it could have been the Have Not room itself where they were competing in. But it was kind of a fun competition as well, watching with the record albums and everything else. It did seem when Nicole got beat, she was a little upset that she didn't win, but she didn't seem as upset as I would have expected her perhaps to be. I truly think that at that point in time, she expected that if Cody had won, he would take her. If she had won, he would have taken him. That this competition to some degree was a little bit irrelevant. She actually talked, I think it was while she was talking to Julie later in the episode. She actually said, hey, Cody, I know it's a lot to ask, but he really could have just thrown this competition because I would have taken him along with me anyway. So it didn't matter who won the competition. Wrong. It doesn't matter even if you're going anyway. It was so important that whoever won this thing could then argue before the juror that, hey, the other person is only here because I drug him along. I'm the one that was in charge. I'm the one that had controlled his own fate. This other person, they're here for by the grace of God and because I chose them to be here. So it's always important to win that final competition. So I don't buy Nicole's argument. And Cody obviously was fighting to win this thing 100%. There wasn't any throwing anything for Cody in this last competition. So Cody wins the final two. Now he controls his own fate. He gets to pick who's going along with him as well. Oh, it was so stressful watching Cody. I believe it. I don't think it was acting. I think he was every bit as stressed as we saw. You're in this house for these guys in the house with these other two people for 85 days. You build relationships, you build feelings, you build emotions, and Cody having to cut someone loose. I just think it truly was as hard as he showed, but Cody chose to keep Enzo. He sends Nicole out the door. So much passion from Enzo and Nicole both as they're arguing why he should keep him. I thought it was interesting. They both argued from an emotional standpoint, a loyalty standpoint, and not really saying, hey, it's best for your game, Cody, to keep me. It was both, hey, I've been loyal to you. Please be loyal to me. So that was a little interesting. I was incredibly happy to see the results. I truly was. Not out of any dislike for Nicole at all. It's because I feel like the decision that Cody made was purely based on his best strategic gameplay decision. And that's what I wanted to see him do after he had made the emotional decision in season 16 to keep Derek, which maybe wasn't the best gameplay, but it was all based on loyalty and emotion. I feel like this season was a redemption tour for Cody, just like it was for Christmas, just like it was for David, just like it was for Kaiser. Cody, even though he came in second place in his own season, because he had lost after making an emotional decision, I think it was his redemption, and he chose the straight up gameplay that completes his redemption tour. I think that's what he needed to do, and I think the jurors respected that. So Nicole walks out the door. She looked angry. She didn't even hug the guys on the way out. She was very quick heading out the door. I was wondering if maybe she was going to play the bitter juror role after that, but she ended up taking a high road. I think she has enough love and respect for the game. She voted based on gameplay, and she put her feelings aside. So props to Nicole for that. I truly respect that. So we have the jury roundtable segment. Just an FYI for those of you who watch this. It's filmed on the CBS studio lot. And basically, what happens is we saw about 10 minutes of that roundtable. It lasts for hours. And it consists of each person, each of the final three house guests, all the jurors saying, why would this person deserve it? Why would this person maybe not deserve it? Then you move on to the next house guest. You repeat the questions. Then you move on to the third. So the producers have a lot of content to choose from to kind of pick the segments they want to show to condense it into that 10-minute segment. And I do wonder, based on the final vote and the fact it was a unanimous vote for Cody, a spoiler if you haven't seen it, based on that, I do wonder if the consensus really during this roundtable was that maybe, hey, this is Cody's. As long as he's up there, he's winning this thing. And no one really wanted to be on the wrong side of a lopsided vote either. And so what we saw in the jury roundtable maybe showed a little more of people playing devil's advocate. But I think these jurors were convinced before even coming in that if Cody was there, especially when he cut Nicole, I think that gave him the victory no matter what. Jury questions, kind of blah. But I don't think it mattered at this point in time. Enzo's speech to the juror, he was just so happy to be there. I just loved watching him so excited about being there. But I think he did a good job of arguing his points. But here's the thing, riding someone else's coattails when that person is sitting next to you, that is tough to argue against. And I just think it just wasn't going to happen tonight. Cody, he was cool. He was collected. He had great answers. He did a good job of owning his game, I think, in the end, explaining all the moves he'd made while he was in power and while other people were in power. So just an all-around fantastic game from Cody. One of the best I've ever seen. He deserved the title. Enzo is so happy with his final two. Nicole's already won $500,000. She'll be fine. Davon won America's Favorite House Guest. I think we had results that a lot of people can be happy with. Was some of the season a little predictable? Yeah, but I enjoyed this finale, and I like the results that we saw out of it. One thing I wanted to point out, did everyone notice the jurors that were sitting on the stage? That was not the sound stage where we normally have the finale. It looks like they were in the backyard. They built a special set just for that. I'm sure it has something to do with COVID and outside versus inside and all that. But yeah, they had a big old fancy set for this final thing. So what happens now? Just real quick, kind of an inside scoop on where we're at. I assume it's going to be about the same as during my season, even with COVID and all that. The jurors were released last night, a few hours after the show ended, released to their families, get on planes to go home, however it works out. The final three, however, who haven't done all their media interviews, they're locked in for another couple of days, somewhat sequestered while they do their probably virtual media interviews and get all of that taken care of. And then I would imagine they get released to their families, put on planes, et cetera, sometime beginning of the weekend. So that's probably what's going to happen with that. Now, one thing I want to point out, I hope everyone realizes that these are just regular people playing this game, imperfect people playing a sometimes imperfect game. Please be tolerant of them. Give them some love when they get out. Such stressful situations to be in. I think everyone gave it everything they had, good or bad. I think they played to the best of their ability. And so please keep it positive as much as possible. That's what I'm hoping for as everyone comes out of that house. Will we be seeing any of these house guests ever play again? I doubt it. I think for all 16, this is probably the last hurrah. We'll be moving on to new people and new returnees and everything else going forward, I think. So let's talk a little bit. What I liked about the season, what I maybe didn't like so much. The cast. I like the cast. I thought they did a good job of spreading them out across a bunch of different seasons, especially given COVID and some of the problems that created. I like the cast that we had this season. There were some surprises. There were some people we expected, but I thought it went well. Strategic play, even though we saw the power focused on one side of the house, I think within that, we still saw some good internal strategies, some manipulations, some things like that. So I admired the strategy from a lot of people playing this game. The twist, I was okay with the safety suite. I love the idea of house guests picking next week's have-nots. So you had a little bit of responsibility, a little bit of vengeance and upset people and all that. I like that. I hope they continue that going forward. I also thought they did a good job with the competitions. They had a good mix of physical and mental. Hopefully we get the slip and slide back next season. What did I not enjoy? Hey, bring back Orwell. I want to see Orwell in the house next season. He got his little vacation. I'm ready to send him back to the Big Brother house. Pre-gaming, we know some of this. We've heard it. There was some pre-gaming that went on. But at the end of the day, if you don't win the competitions, HOHs and such, it doesn't matter about the pre-gaming at all. So the people inside the house, they did what they needed to do to get to the final three. So props to them for that. You can't always stop all of that going on. I do wish there'd been a little more interactions with America. Just some point where America could have voted to give someone a punishment, give someone a reward, let us influence the game just a little bit would have been kind of cool. So I hope we see that again next season. I wish there'd been more power flips in the house, a little more chaos created. Now that's not on the producers or anything else. That's just some strong players playing the game who got together at the very beginning. So I'm not blaming any of that on anything except it's just the way it happened this season. They did a good job of keeping the power contained. So we've got that. Wall yellers. I've never liked wall yellers. I didn't like them this year either. I don't like someone coming in, influencing the game from the outside. I hope there's a way they can fix that somehow, figure it out. So we've got that as well. All right, finally, guys. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. Thanks to all my fellow Big Brother fans, viewers of Cliff Notes. I appreciate so much. These overnight summaries have been so much fun. But with Big Brother done, Cliff Notes isn't going away. We'll continue to try to talk every morning for 15 minutes or so. Obviously different topics, but we'll continue talking. I'm not going anywhere, guys. Y'all know me. But with that being said, Big Brother's done. I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to go take a nap. Guys, I love it. Thank y'all so much. SKD143. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love all the fellow Big Brother fans. Y'all have a great one. Here's to a successful season. Cheers, guys. Bye.